Hi, I'm Chioma. Welcome back to my channel. And today, I just kind of want to talk about life, about how difficult it can be as a lady in your 20s trying to figure out the best decisions to make. I'm not even talking about the big decisions like where to go to school, like what job to pick or whatever. I'm talking about the day to day actions that you take that impact your life in ways that you might not really understand. And hey, I'm Chioma. Welcome back to my channel. I've been thinking of making this channel into a place where we can talk as young adults in our 20s trying to figure out the world, especially when it comes to things that we weren't taught, things that weren't talked about, right? And I feel like this is one of those things. Some people are fortunate enough to have parents that actually prepare them for the world as far as day to day decisions and choices and what steps to take and how the decisions you make affect your future. Some of us did not have that. And of course, our parents only talked about the big things, but they ignored the little things that lead to that. So you're in your 20s, maybe depending regardless of where you are at this point in your life, every day you have to make decisions. It could be like what you say to somebody after they say something to you, because maybe they said something disrespectful but you didn't pick up on that because you didn't know that that's supposed to be disrespectful, right? Maybe it's someone does something to you but you're not sure how much of a reaction is appropriate depending on the action. It's like you're not sure how to deal with passive aggressiveness from people. Those kind of little things, right? Someone is being shady to you. How much shade do you throw back? Do you throw any shade back? Those little things, a lot of us are not taught. Those nuances. So we go through the world being disrespected. We go through the world doubting ourselves because we don't understand how it is that other people can just make things happen because we weren't taught those things, right? Some of us go through the world unable to make friends, or we go through the world constantly judging ourselves and not finding ourselves up to par, right? Because we weren't taught that, we weren't taught confidence. We weren't taught being okay with yourself. We weren't taught being able to look at yourself, see your abilities and disabilities, your likes and your dislikes, and just be okay with that. We weren't taught to explore and find out more about ourselves. So we're just going through the world very unsure, unsure of everything, right? We don't have self validation. We don't, we're not confident. And this affects you in ways that you don't think of. It's very stressful on your psyche, which is how you can just find yourself constantly exhausted and you don't know why. So um those are just a couple things I want to talk about, right? First, let's start with the lack of self validation, because as I've gone through the world, something I've noticed is if you don't validate yourself, you're going to look to other people to validate you. And that's very dangerous because other people that know better, or even some that don't know better, sometimes when people see that you want validation from them, especially when they see that you want validation, they're going to use your wants and your need of validation as a means to control you. Because the truth of the matter is, people can be very evil and wicked. And that is normal. That is in the human DNA to be, okay, not even evil and wicked. It's selfish. That's the word. is selfish. People are very selfish. And that is quite normal. And to an extent, we should all be self serving to an extent, right? So when you're that person that wasn't taught to self validate and you go out here and you're looking for validation, people will give you some validation at a cost, at a very high cost. They're going to take advantage of you and they're going to use you for their means. And then they're going to give you validation that is not sustaining. It doesn't last. It's not going to fulfill what you truly need because it's not unconditional. And you know that. You know that it is very contingent on how you act and you pleasing them, right? Which is why you become such a people pleaser because you go around wanting validation from these people and you know that you have to do things to please them in order to get a little bit of validation. And the thing is that validation is not even satisfactory because you had to put in all that work to get it in the first place. And even though you know that, okay, you've gotten to the point you're like, oh, damn, I'm a people pleaser. Like, I really do the most. I put myself at risk. I put myself in harm's way to be validated by strangers. It doesn't even have to be people you know. It can just literally be people on the street. People that it's your first time meeting them. You've known them for less than 15 minutes, but you're putting yourself below them and you're going to put their wants and their needs above yours because you want that validation, because you never learned to validate yourself and to look within when you need something. And at first, you just do it. You don't even know. You're just doing it. And then you begin to notice, like, damn, I do this. But then, even when you notice, when you see yourself doing it, before you even know what's going on, you've already done it. You do it and then you catch yourself and you're like, damn, I did it again. And so you have to work towards getting to the point where you you hesitate. There is a pause where you can actually be like, oh wait, do I validate myself or do I do things for them to validate me? Right? And so if you're not taught that stuff, like you can you can put yourself in a lot of dangerous situations because you want validation from other people, right? And one of those situations is actually in the church, right? In religion, and just anywhere there are rules, people pleasers will thrive because according to the rules, if you follow the rules, you get certain rewards or prizes and you avoid punishment. So if you're a people pleaser, naturally you're going to be good at that because that's what you do on the daily. And you're not even going to want to break the rules because you don't want any punishment, right? Because you're a people pleaser. So any space where control thrives, where you have to follow rules, those are the spaces people pleasers thrive. So places like school, especially elementary, middle, and high school, because you have all these rules, you go to class, you do this, you do that, and you don't get punished, and you get validation in the form of good grades or trophies or whatever it is the situation calls for. Another place is in the church, there are all these rules that you follow and your reward is in heaven, right? So you see a lot of churchgoers are very much people pleasers because their goal, they just follow the rules, follow the rules, follow the rules, and they're waiting on their reward. You also see this in the cults. These are usually the people that actually keep you in the cult. So these are the people that are likely to like if you want to escape, they find out, they're gonna report you to the leaders, right? These are the people that are likely to do that because They believe in the validation. They don't see any reason why anybody should be breaking the rules or anything like that. So they want to keep the peace of the cult. So in a cult, you're gonna see a lot of people pleasers. And think of like the leader's spouse, usually the leader's wife, or like the leader's right hand man type person. These people are usually people pleasers because they get that validation from the leader. So they're going to be doing everything the leader wants. They're going to be attending to the leader's every whim. So that's just how it is, right? Because when you lack that self validation, you have to follow rules because that's the only way that you can get validation. But then that means you can't go outside the box. Because to be the kind of person that is thinking outside the box, to be the kind of person that acts outside the box, outside the norm, you have to start letting go of your people pleaser fantasies. You have to be willing to not receive validation. You have to be willing to not receive validation in order to get to that point. Yeah. You have to be willing to make your own path and have everybody look at you like, damn, she can, like, people will be looking at you weird. People will be like, "Oh wow, you're doing that, huh?" Because to that's what it takes to self-validate. Right? When you self-validate, you're able to take actions that are not necessarily part of the norm because you don't need them to validate you anymore. You're able to validate yourself. So you're able to take whatever actions you want because you're going to validate yourself anyway. So it doesn't matter. And chances are they're not going to approve of your actions because they want you to follow the rules so they can control you. If you're not following the rules, how are they going to control you? Which is why when you're like the black sheep, you are so demonized. You're outcasted, basically. You're an outcast because you're not following the rules. You're not doing what you're supposed to do because you can't be easily controlled because you're a free thinker, and you that means you're able to think outside the box. You're able to act outside the box. Okay? So that's one of the things. If you weren't taught self-validation, which a lot of people were not because your parents absolutely wanted to control your behavior, because which it served the purpose in childhood, right? They wanted you to be a good boy, to be a good girl, so you can go to school, so you can get good grades, so you can do what you need to do to be successful in life. No hate to your parents. They were doing what they felt they needed to do to get you where they needed you to go. Right? They were doing what they felt they needed to do for your future. But now you're an adult. You need to break out of that. Because at this point, the rules of engagement when you were young have changed. The rules of engagement when your parents still understood what was going on, the rules are different now. You have to play a different game. Your parents don't know what it's like out here like they think they do. The things they told you when you were a child was for them. But now you as an adult, you have to figure out what you need to do as an adult, right? And where you need to go. And you need to figure out what games you need to play and how to play it because they absolutely do not have that information. They might have some general themes, right? So they might be able to help you a little bit, but not in a way. They can't help you with specifics. They can't help you with specific information because it's different. It's different. It's different. And you can't you have to be careful who you take advice from because you don't know that they know what they're talking about, especially if they have not been keeping up with the times, which a lot of them do not. So Just know, as an adult, it's on you to start self validating so that you can think outside the box, so that you are able to allow yourself to act in a way that will benefit you, even though it's not what other people think is right, right? You have to start thinking in a way that is going to get you the results you want, regardless of how other people feel about it. So, in order to act outside the box, you have to self validate. And that might make you, the black sheep. It might make you the outcast, but it's okay. It's really okay to be the black sheep and the outcast, because you get to decide for yourself. You get to choose for yourself, and you're not beholden to the rules that had been set for you in the past. You're not stuck in the box. You're free. Okay? Now, the second thing is comparison. Now, when you were growing up, you were probably compared a decent amount, which I guess parents thought, it's a way to motivate you, to inspire you to action, to make you want to compete and do better. But now, as an adult, it's not so helpful, is it? They say comparison is the thief of joy. Yeah, you're experiencing that a lot, but then you can't stop comparing, can you? The truth is, comparison keeps you stuck. Okay. Comparison actually does three things that I've noticed. Number one, it'll keep you stuck and frozen. You're unable to make decisions because you're like, I don't know. You're comparing your life to other people's lives. You don't know if the decision you're making is going to be the right decision. So you're freaking out. You don't know what to do because you're comparing. But that's because that's how you were brought up. Or number two, it makes you desperate. Instead of, what is that saying? Is it freeze or flight? I don't know. I don't remember. But instead of you freezing, no, you want to move. You so desperate. You want to rush. You want to make all the decisions right now. You're like freaking out, and then you make the wrong decision because you weren't able to take time, take a break, take a moment, think it over, and then decide. You decided in a rush, and that puts you in a place where you were acting out of desperation. So you make the wrong decision because you were acting out of desperation. The third thing is it makes us harsh. Comparison makes us harsh with ourselves in times when we should be compassionate. You go through something, instead of you to be able to take a moment and be like, you know what, you're doing your best, you're trying, you know, and just give yourself some grace in that moment, and give yourself and your inner child some love, some needed comfort, right? Comparison makes us lash out at ourselves instead. It's like, oh, how could you even do that? How could you think that? And instead of you to be like, you know what, you did your best. You're just harsh with yourself. You're mean, you're rude. You call yourself names that have been used to demean you in the past, right? But that's because you were comparing your life to somebody else, and you're like, oh, how can you make the decision that will lead you here? Why didn't you make the right decisions? Instead of giving ourselves some grace and understanding that, you know what, this is our first life. It's our first time here. Like, you know, it's not like you've been through this before. We're all taking it step by step. It's your first time being 20 whatever, and you're trying to figure it out just like everybody else. And the truth of the matter is, it really makes no sense to compare your life to other people, because you didn't have what they had. You weren't born into their family. your parents might not have been the best. And that affects you in in a way that should not be ignored, right? Because maybe this person came from a loving family and you did not. Or maybe they didn't even come from a loving. Sometimes it's, oh, the state. Maybe they came from a state that has a lot of opportunities. Meanwhile, you came from some backward town that had nothing going on, right? You have to have some level of compassion with yourself, with your journey, and with your inner child, right? And who you're gonna grow up to be, who the adults that you will be. You have to give yourself a level of grace and just understanding, right? And just a level of knowing that at every point you're doing the best you can, and that it's literally your first time on earth, right? You don't have the answers. You're trying to figure it out. That doesn't mean that you don't think of what you can do to make it better for yourself. Of course you do. You do research, you think ahead, you put in the work, but it's also okay that you didn't get it right the first time. It's okay. Like, you can be kind to yourself. You being kind to yourself is not going to make you lazy, right? You're not going to become lazy and unproductive just because you talk to yourself nicely. You know? Like, you can still accomplish everything you want to accomplish whilst being kind, while being compassionate to yourself, while giving yourself what the necessary, like, what's it, the necessary environment, the necessary soft and productive environment, right? To be able to grow. You can be soft. You can be soft for yourself. It's okay. That doesn't mean you're not gonna want to do anything. If anything, is going to make you work better, because now you're not working out of hatred or out of competition, but you're working out of love for yourself and wanting to achieve your dreams. So it's absolutely okay to not compare yourself and to be kind. Okay? It's okay. It's better to not compare yourself, honestly. That doesn't mean you don't see other people and then take notes from what they have and then what you want. You can see people, you can see what they're doing and be like, oh, I like that, I want that, and still make it in a way that benefits you, that works for you, right? But that leads to something else. Hate watching. Hate watching. When you see somebody that has something you want, if you're so overwhelmed by jealousy or by envy, stop watching. Stop watching them. Because if every time this person comes across your page, you're like, ugh, you have something to say. Relax. Relax. That's jealousy. That's something you need to deal with. But in the meantime, stop watching them, because it only inspires more of that emotion within you. And then you need to figure out what exactly you're jealous of. Because if you're jealous of something, it means you want it. And maybe you just don't feel like you can have it. The truth of the matter is, it's kind of good, right? If you're jealous of somebody and you can figure out exactly what you're jealous of, that's good, because now you know what you want and you can just work on getting it for yourself, right? Now, of course, you do have to do this with a measure of, you have to have your mind right. So it's not like everything you see from somebody you want, and so you go get it, you go get it. You have to still see if it falls in line with the future you have for yourself. So does this fall in line with the future I have for myself? Do I really want it? Why do I want it? Right? These are things that you need to question within yourself. And even if you can't have it right now, you can still take notes. You can take inspiration. You can you can use some parts of it. It doesn't have to be the whole thing. Matter of fact, I find it better when you don't just copy and paste things that other people have, right? So let's say you see some girl and she does her brows like this, like that, and you're like, you want those brows. Your face might not look the best in it, right? Like they might not look all that great on your brows, on like your face. But then let's say you're like, I like that it's skinny or I like that it's round. So you can try maybe skinny brows next time, but still keep your arch shape if you have a naturally arched brow, right? Or you can be like, okay, my brows are more rounded. We can try to enunciate the roundness of the brow. Or you can try to get close, but not exact. Or you can try to change up the color. There are just things you can do to take some form of the inspiration, right? Without copy and paste. Because in a way, all arts is like is a copy. Art, you know, art imitates life and life imitates art. So everything that is being done has been done before. So it's not like they were the first person to do it, which is why the fashion trends recycle, the beauty trends recycle because you're not the first person to think of it, right? Like it's been done before and it will be done again. It's just what way can you do it that is unique to you in a way, right? So that's what you need to think of. Oh, like hate watching people is no. It's a no because you're just fostering more of that negative energy. You're fostering more of that negative mentality, right? Because when you're hate watching people, you're not thinking of bettering your life. You're just thinking of their life getting worse. So even though it's not beneficial to you, you're still doing it because to you it's better that they're worse off than you're better off, right? It's more important to you that they don't have the things they have than it is for you to get the things you want. So that's just something that I find, okay, you need to be real careful, like watching people. Make sure it's not out of jealousy, make sure it's not out of hate. If you see that you're being jealous of somebody, you need to reevaluate what is it that they have and how can I get it for myself, right? Not exactly what they have, not the specific one they have, but how can you get that energy or something that signifies that? What exactly is it that you want and how can you get it for yourself? Okay? Now, here's something else. Once you figure out what it is that you want, you're going to have to decide if you're willing to put in the work it takes to get that stuff. Because that's something I've noticed. We'll see something that someone has or that someone is doing and we want it. We want to do it. We want what they have, but then we're not willing to put in the work. We don't know what it takes to get that. And more importantly, to keep it, to maintain it, right? So we just see it, we want it, and now we're on our way to get it, but it's like, can you keep up though? Otherwise, you're gonna lose it just as fast as you got it. So when you're measuring out what other people have and wanting it for yourself, you also need to measure out the amount of work or what type of work it's gonna take to maintain it. You also have to figure out what exactly they did to get it. What did they give up to attain that stuff that you want? And are you willing to give that up or not? It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just each person has to decide for themselves. Are you willing to give that up or not? Anyways, that's it for today. I will see you in my next video. We can talk more by then. So yeah, if you were look, a lot of these things we weren't taught. I don't feel like it's a big deal. It's just things that we have to work on because we're adults now. We can't use our childhood as an excuse anymore. We have to figure it out for ourselves. Yep, yep, yep. Okay, that's it for today. Bye. Mwah. Oh, also like, follow, and subscribe.